My name is Carolyn Delaney. I'm the founder and CEO here at Journey Enterprises. We're a media company on a mission to make recovery from addiction visible because it's important. It saves lives. There are over 26 million of us in recovery, and we want those who are still sick and suffering to know that there's a path for them. There's millions of us here on the other side of active addiction, and that it's probable that people can and do recover. Our videos share personal, intimate stories of what people's journeys were like, going from what it was like to what happened to what it's like now, in an effort to let people know that we're here, we care, and that there's a way out. Visible recovery saves lives, and we want the world to know that. So if you have a story about recovery and would like to share it, please contact me, Carolyn at recovery-journey.com. I hope you enjoy our videos. Have a great day.
My name is Sarah Landvin. I am currently a recovery coach coordinator in Lincoln, Maine at Save a Life Community Recovery Resource Center. I grew up in Mattawamkeag. I had what everybody always tells me as like the perfect setup. I had pretty decent grades. I had a lot of friends. I played sports in school. So I thought, thinking back to my childhood, it was pretty fairy tale in my mind. So by the end of high school, I had noticed a change in me. I had lowered self-esteem. I wasn't really sure who I was. I was fighting depression. So I had this big void I was trying to fill within me that I didn't really have much guidance because substances and alcohol wasn't really talked about. And so when I tried to fill that void, I filled it with unhealthy relationships and partying with friends. And when I was told that when I was partying, I was told that this pill will, take everything away and you'll feel so good and it's amazing. I tried Adderall for the first time. And after that, it was kind of just that spiral of, well, they didn't have any more Adderall, so the next party we went to, they had Percocet. I was losing myself more and more each day without really realizing it. And I was using the opioids and drugs almost daily at the end of high school. And I had gotten to a really toxic relationship. And there was abuse involved, and I had suffered a few miscarriages. And I always thought that if I got pregnant, that I would just stop, and that would be the answer to everything. When I didn't have that drug first thing in the morning, which is what we had been doing for so long, I was so sick, and that was one of the scariest times in my life. At the end of it, with this man that I had been dating, and I never thought in a million years that I would get to that point. So finding out that we were addicts was a different realization, because I had been using with him, and I knew I was using myself, but I don't think the realization had truly hit me. So my dad and I were spiraling together. He comes from a family full of addicts and alcoholics himself, with a traumatic childhood. I was tired, I was lonely, I was just lost, all genuinely those things. I hadn't felt like real joy in a very long time. And I genuinely wanted to stop, but I didn't know how to stop, who to talk to, when to do it. I had no resources at my fingertips whatsoever, because then there was a lot less. My first thought was to move away. That's what a lot of people think. It's geographically recovering. Then I tried to go to Florida for a little while. I lived in Florida for a short time, and then I just added another drug to my list. I added cocaine to my list of drugs that I was now addicted to. And so I ended up coming home, and I had met a man, and I started looking for help, and he was supportive and trying to find me help. And so shortly after we had met, I got a call, and I was told that my dad lost his battle with mental illness and addiction, and he took his own life. And I just felt like every part of me was falling apart. And then I learned I was pregnant. I am a huge advocate for MAT therapy and harm reduction. I think you have to be in the right space to accept it, and I think you have to pick the right path in MAT therapy. When I started the journey of working on me and taking the steps to become a healthier person all around, physically, mentally, the man that I had met, I am now married to. He's a wonderful father and husband, and I am a mom of now 4 beautiful kids who are 8, 7, 5, and 1.5. The life I have now came with a lot of work, and it didn't just happen when somebody gave me the Suboxone prescription and then, oh, everything's better. You know, I had to really work at it. I loved my life. That's all I had ever wanted, but I was grappling at how to deal with everything. And postpartum depression hit me, and so it was a lot. But keeping God close to me was my lifeline then. There's something for everyone. We just have to want it. And my community has been such a huge support system for me. So another big thing I would just tell people is that your community cares. There is a community that cares about you, and they want to see you succeed. I still have a sponsor. I still go to therapy. I'm a huge advocate for that. I think every person should go through 12 steps and have a therapist, you know, have that one person they can call when they need most. It's hard, but anybody can do it. I do recovery coaching also right now. I run a 12-step program at my local church and an open meeting at Save a Life. I've discovered that life in recovery is 1,000 times better. One of them being the coping mechanisms, because as I mentioned that word a lot because that was what I believe to be one of my most detrimental downfalls in especially my childhood, is not having those coping mechanisms. So now I use nutrition and physical activity, meditation and prayer to cope instead of using drugs. And we care about you. I don't even know who's going to be reading this or watching this, but I care about them.
Yes.
So having hope is something that we really hold on to strongly, especially at the recovery center, because it saves lives. You're invincible as a teenager, right?
Yep.
So I'm passionate about going in and talking to them. They probably know about drugs, especially with all that they have at their fingertips, let alone all the kids that they interact with. So it's an important thing to go in and show them, you know, showing that you not only lose your dignity and your self-respect and your worth in that process, your home, your vehicles, your family, your loved ones, your teeth, your physical experience, appearance.
Exactly.
You lose every inch of you. And I think it's really important to show that and be honest with kids, especially. Everything we put in our minds, in our bodies, I think people really underestimate the power of that. And for people that, you know, don't want to follow God or aren't ready to follow God or a higher power, I really urge them to just try to be spiritual. There's a difference between organized religion and being spiritual, and being connected in your mind, body, spirit. All of that is something that anyone can do, no matter what their belief system is. I'm really into, you know, self-help and reading and listening, but you can also do that too much, and you can't take in everybody's opinion and live everybody's opinion for your life. Like, you have to carefully choose. When you start showing that you're living a normal life, whatever that is, but you know, just the general life where you have ups and downs, and you come in late with your mascara running down your face, but you're there. That's
present.
That's when you bring like those. The universe gives you those relationships of the mom who, you know, was late, but she was late because she was trying to hide all that.
My name is Vicky, and I live in Cumberland, Maine. I'm 58 years old, and I identify with the people in recovery from alcohol. I started drinking when I was a very young age. I was like 14. I now actually identify as being an introvert, which I don't think of as a bad thing anymore. But then it was kind of painful. I was really shy. And when I started using alcohol, it, loosened me up, made me able to be more social. And when I started going to high school and meeting other people my age, it wasn't easy for me because I was always really shy. I had been sexually abused when I was a young child up through my later teen years. And I just, it was almost as if I was in denial that it wasn't happening. I was denying that it was really affecting me in any way. But what was really happening was my alcohol use started to get worse and worse and worse over the years. I figured that out right off the bat, that by doing that, I was blocking that pain, blocking the flashbacks. My parents were very loving, caring parents, and neither one of them drank. I didn't live in that kind of a home, but it was this other family member who no longer is a family member, who should have been amongst the adults who were protecting me and taking care of me, but that was not the case. And in my young little brain, I really couldn't figure that out, and I didn't really know. I didn't know what was going on. So once I took that first drink, it was kind of this almost unconscious thing of like, okay, this is going to help me get through all this weirdness, because I really didn't know what else to do. I actually grew up in a little city outside of Boston, so I moved to Maine when I was 19, 20 years old. And so in my young adulthood, it was all about going down to the Old Port and partying and drinking, never thinking anything of it. And, through that time, I got myself into some really dangerous situations. It just was one of those long, slow slides, like just the drinking just increased year by year by year by year. I did get married. I went back to school. I got a degree. Drank through all of that, somehow managed to accomplish it. About 2 years after I got married, I got pregnant with my daughter, and I didn't drink for the time I was pregnant. Like up until now, that was like the longest stretch that I ever had without alcohol. Thank goodness. Thank goodness I managed that. And then after, when she was a little baby, but then I would always find a way to have somebody available to take care of her or watch her, or, I would wait until my husband got home from work, and then I would start in with the wine. And wine was definitely my poison of choice. Then my daughter was older, and she went away to college, and then that just opened the door. Now with my daughter not around and not even, not really having to think about anything else or any other responsibilities that way, I really started to drink really, really, really hard, and started missing work and being sick and hungover all the time. It was just so part of me and in my system and part of my life that I knew that something was up, but I couldn't stop. And at that point, I didn't even really want to stop. There were, some other things going on. My marriage wasn't doing well for obvious reasons and not so obvious reasons. And again, I knew I had this cheap way out to deal with the pain of what was happening in my relationship and the confusion. Drink it away. Then I was diagnosed with breast cancer, which I've been cancer-free for 7 years now, so that's great. But now when I think back on that, it's almost like I didn't even have charge of what was happening through that. It's the whole breast cancer journey is a blur. And I got fired from my job for drinking on the job, a job I loved. I loved this job. It was that one, and then I had another one that I blew both of them. I just could not stop. I could not let it go. I couldn't bring myself to stop. I had a horrible thing happen. My mother, she actually was hit by a car and she was killed. And even, like draped across her body saying, "Mom, I promise I won't drink anymore." I didn't stop. I didn't even let that promise make me stop. It actually sent me over the edge. I got to that point where I had to. I was physically addicted. I could not function without some alcohol in my system. I tried going to an IOP a few times. I was at Milestone twice. I was at Mercy Recovery 3 times, and I would get a few weeks in, I would get a few months sober, and it just wasn't sticking. Now my dad lived very close to me. Now he's without my mom, and I'm supposed to be taking care of him at this point, and I couldn't even take care of myself. I was just a mess. And my daughter was so frightened. She was just so scared. And my husband was at his wit's end. He didn't know what to do. My whole family, my sisters, my brother. Then I'm pretty sure that my best friend contacted another friend of ours who was involved with this program where they helped people from our hometown in Boston get help, and no matter where anybody was living. And so he contacted me and said, "Hey, I heard that you were having a really hard time and that you were really sick. This is what I can offer you with the help of some other people." And I just said yes, because I just didn't know what to do. In retrospect, I kind of think it's funny that I would go to Ireland of all places to get sober, but that's what happened. And I think that was the key, because I was so far away. You didn't have to be religious or Catholic or anything at all to be able to receive treatment there. And I think people ask me, like, why did that work for you? And I think the biggest thing is the program teaches you that you're worth it, that you're worth a better life. That, yeah, I am a good person inside. I am worth a better life. I am worth, health and happiness and joy. And, I don't deserve to be miserable and sick all the time. They did definitely have AA meetings there, and they had people come in from the community to be there with us during those meetings. We had daily meditation and walking meditation, and we had group counseling, and then we had individual counseling, and it was really intense. But I think that was exactly what I needed, because the basis of it was just really teaching you how to love yourself, which I had lost. I just had lost that. I didn't even have any sense of who I was. And it was a spiritual awakening. It really was. I mean, it was like in the best place possible, right? Ireland, like, that was cool. It really was a gift. It was it was like a gift of life, like starting my life over. And I left there with this just whole new perspective on life, and I just felt so much better. I know self-esteem is like a buzzword, but that's really what it was. It was like building us up to have us all believe that, we deserve this. We deserve a better life and a healthier life. Their program asks the participants to be in aftercare. Well, I kind of couldn't do that because I couldn't stay there. But they made sure, and they helped me do this, that I had aftercare once I came home to the United States. And I went to, for a little while, I went to Catholic Charities, and I did group therapy there, and got set up with, daily meetings that I went to. I got a job. Yeah, I mean, I have an absolutely wonderful relationship with my daughter now, and she's so supportive. She really is. She always really has been. And the other gift is, my husband and I we stayed married and we're working on our marriage, but things seem to have settled, and he is incredibly supportive of me and my sobriety. But I do have some sobriety practices that I have stayed with since I was in treatment. And I get up and I do a morning reading meditation. I have some day books and I read those, and I do a little bit of journaling, and I do that every morning. Yeah, I work at the Barron Center in Portland, and I work in the life enrichment department. Back after I graduated college, when Jillian was 2, that was my first job in that field. And I worked there for almost 11 years before I became a therapeutic riding instructor. When I was getting really, really sick, and that's when I was fired from the Barron Center for drinking on the job. It was bad, and it broke my heart. I really thought that door was closed. I was working elsewhere, and a friend of mine from the Barron Center sent me a message and said, hey, there's going to be a spot opening up if you want to reapply. And I said, well, I don't know if that would be a good idea. I don't think that they would even, accept me or let me even apply. Well, they hired me back, and I've been back there for over a year because I've always loved working there, and I love the work, and I love the residents, and I work with a great bunch of people. So it's amazing to be back there. It's been really long, 6 years in July. And I feel solid. I feel great, but I know I still have to do one day at a time, and I still have to do the things that I do. And I've also been able to, through the sobriety journey, I now realize what is really important to me and what I need to do to take care of myself, which is honoring that I'm really an introvert. Yeah, and I have said to everyone, my husband, my daughter, my friends, I even said this to my horses, that what comes first is my sobriety. I'm not gonna let anything get in between me and sobriety, because I know for a fact that if I picked up again, it'd be over. All of this beautiful stuff that has happened to me, the gifts that have been given, the miracles, would be over. I honestly felt if I didn't take that offer, that the next thing that was going to happen to me was I was going to die. It was that raw and that real. I knew I couldn't stop where I was. There was just so much stuff going on, and I really felt like the cause of it all. I really did. So it was like I have to this is an opportunity to get away and not die. So when my friend said that to me, we can send you to Ireland, to this place, I was like, that sounds like I should do that because trying to do it here isn't working, and I still want to live. So that's beautiful. That's pretty much it. I'm just thinking of what I learned. Love yourself. Even if you're still drinking, love yourself. Even if your son or daughter is still drinking, love them. They are still who they are. They've got this illness, but they're still who they are. They're still good people, and they don't want to be this sick. I can almost be 100% sure about that. But love yourself. Absolutely.